Well. 1 minute before going live, another power surge, but we are here. I can see most of you have already moved over to the new YouTube stream, so thank you. Thank you for that. Well, hello. How are you, John?
I'm okay.
It's Boxing Day, man.
Yeah. What?
Well, I'm just saying, it's Boxing Day. It's festive. It's Yuletide. Well, actually, Christmas is over.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm quite happy. What about you?
Yeah. It's been a bit anticlimactic.
It has. And it's been very stressful this year, I think. And I think that stress is predicated by the fact that I just had 11 hours sleep, John, after it was all over. And I didn't even drink. I had 11 hours sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Well, I hope everyone out there had a very Merry Christmas and enjoyed themselves.
Looks like you didn't. Jesus Christ. Give us a smile. What did you get for Christmas, John? Come on, tell us. What did you get for Christmas?
Some things for cheese.
I got some things for cheese. I got this cylindrical set that had like a cheese cleaver and a cheese knife and a cheese board in it with some weird stones on it that you could use a little wax crayon to write the name of the cheese on.
No, I didn't get that.
No, I did. From my dad, who knows nothing about me.
And knows that you like cheese. Or don't.
Well,
do you like cheese?
I love really, really strong cheddar.
Do you know what we call our dog?
What do you call your dog?
We call our dog the cheese shark.
Is she one of those?
As soon as you open the fridge, and well, it's not as soon as you open the fridge. As soon as you touch the cheese, she appears. Just like that.
So why don't you call her? I was going to say, like Vaughn's just said in the chat, why don't you call her Gromit?
No, because she's a girl.
Gromit can be a girl's name too.
In this day and age, you can be what you fucking want, can't you?
Exactly.
But yeah, so we call her the cheese shark, because then once the cheese has been exposed, she will hover around your legs, awaiting a piece of cheese. And then, should you give her a piece of cheese, this will indeed fascinate her.
Good.
And she will eat it.
Well, some dogs do like a bit of cheese, John. They do. They like a bit of cheese. My dog's just an arsehole. I mean, I tell you. So, the rabbit, the ginger one, his name is Waffle. It escaped again this morning, right? Mm-hmm. And so, the dog decided it was a new plaything. And scared the living death out of it. It ended up hiding behind its own enclosure. And you've seen the size of its enclosure. It's big.
Well, that's maybe a good thing, that it realises there are things out there that it doesn't want to tangle with and might try and stop escaping. No?
You would hope so. You definitely would hope so. I mean, it's only the one rabbit that does escape. The other one's quite content, it would appear. Right? But it's just the one. We've copped to calling him Houdini because we don't quite know how he's getting out. It doesn't make much sense. Like, especially the other day when the enclosure was all closed up, and there he was, just in the garden.
Maybe he's got an accomplice.
I think he could have an accomplice. My son being that accomplice, because my son finds it hilarious when he escapes.
Yeah.
He did try and come in the house earlier, and in fact, I kind of wanted him to come in the house. The rabbit,
the son of the rabbit.
No, the rabbit. I did kind of want him to come in the house, because then it would have been easier to catch him, right? But he got right up and he put his front paws into the house, and then he was like, "Nah, fuck that," and ran off around the garden. Little bastard, just little
bastard.
It is. I'm drinking one of my family Christmas presents. It's a Red Bull and cherry slush puppy, John.
Yeah, okay.
You said to me, "Who the fuck bought you a slush puppy machine for Christmas?" And then you got the stark, frightening realization that I was the one that purchased the machine for the children.
Yeah. It's not allegedly
for the children. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was on offer in Tesco, and I was just like,
You're like one of those parents who's got like a 6-year-old, a 6-month-old or something like that, and comes back with a fucking top of the range Hornby train set.
Yeah.
Because it's for the kids. It's for the kids.
Oh, it's for the kids. Absolutely. For the kids. It's for the kids. Anyway, John.
Ben.
I think it's time to say those words.
I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to this, episode 179 of Chasing Descent Live. It's Boxing Day Bonanza.
I very, very nearly went live last night, you know.
Yeah, why?
Because I have to just quickly change something on the cameras. But because I was bored. I was bored, and then I turned around and I said to the guys, who wants to play some Fortnite? And Adam was like, I want to play some Fortnite. Right? Okay. So I said, right, I'll meet you out there about 7:30, 7:45. Okay, that's fine. And so I went out. I came and sat in the studio, got everything set up, ready to go live, and he didn't appear. Right? And he didn't appear.
We were at one point going to call this show Where's Adam?
Yeah, we were. So he didn't appear.
Because he hasn't appeared again today, has he?
No, he has not. But not only did he not appear, he just fell silent, and we were like, Adam. Where you at, Adam? Where you at?
He's under the patio.
But to be fair, right, and to be fair to him, he did appear at 10 o'clock.
But
I was back in the house at this point, so we just played without streaming. I was gonna give you guys some form of show last night on one of the channels, but I even nearly thought about tuning the guitar and singing some songs for people, and then I was like, yeah, I'm pretty tired. I'm not gonna do that. So
yeah.
My apologies there. Anyway, I think we
don't do shows on Sundays, so you don't need to apologise.
But with all of the festive stuff out of the way, should we get into the news?
Yeah, but we don't do shows on Sundays, so you don't need to apologise.
I'm not sorry.
Good. I like it when you're not sorry.
I like it when I'm not sorry too. Should we get into... let's move away from the festive and into the frightening, shall we?
Yeah, let's revisit Lawrence Fox.
Let's revisit him, because we've got a picture of his tweet here.
And a lovely reply from Lord of Adder's Black.
Which says, Christ, how drunk were you yesterday? Lawrence obviously tweeting, and I'm not saying this, Lawrence is saying this, a woman who willingly aborts a child should be regarded in exactly the same way as a man who willingly commits the R word. Heinous crimes.
You're not allowed to say. Can you not say that word? Why can't you say that word?
I mean, you can, but they don't like it. So you'd rather just not say it, because if you were monetized, which I know we're not.
Right, I see. I know what it is. So if it's something that's quite nasty and you really should be talking about and bringing to the fore, YouTube would rather just bury it and pretend it didn't actually exist.
Yeah, and then if you say
that's yeah.
But if you do say it, what ends up happening is you get demonetized.
Yeah, because they want to bury it and hide it and not talk about it, because it doesn't really happen, does it?
No, but this is what YouTube believe. You're absolutely right. But so all I'm doing is practicing good etiquette for when we finally can make some kind of ad revenue. Really?
Yes. Okay. No, I was just asking. I was curious, because I wouldn't have thought it would have been a banned word, but hey ho.
I mean, it's not so much a banned word as it is just heinous.
Everyone I say is coming out in a rhyme today. Hey ho, there you go.
You really are the Grinch. You should be named the Grinch, not me.
Am I a poet? Don't I just know it? Anyway, carry on. Right. So. Yeah, what it was, Lawrence, I still can't get my head around what he's actually trying to convey here. Because is it a virtue, or does he believe it, or what? I mean, I just don't understand what the whole point of this tweet was. And the other thing I don't understand before I hand over to you, Ben, the other thing I don't quite understand is why is 3,500 people like it?
Right, I can tell you exactly what's happened here. I know exactly what's happened here. Lawrence Fox has felt emboldened by what happened with the Elon Musk takeover of Twitter, right? He's taking it to the logical next level of being what he ultimately is, which is a contrarian. Do I believe he says a lot of what he says? No, right? I think he's a shock jock. He is a contrarian, and he's saying things to make himself trend. I think that's what he's doing, and he's doing it on purpose.
Howard Stern, if you will.
Yes, a Howard Stern, if you will, but just not as talented.
And dare I say, not even as good looking.
Yeah, say what you will about Howard Stern. The man has aged gracefully, right?
He has.
He has aged gracefully, and I mean, yes, he's a wet behind the ears Fruit Loop who continued to hermetically seal himself away from the world until very recently, and is still walking around in muzzles, but.
I'm telling you, it's the name Howard, right? I mean, you look at the history. If history tells us anything, if you are called Howard, you're screwed. There was Howard Stern, right? Then there was Howard, the guy from the bank advert, right? And then there was Howard Hughes, right? And then there was Howard the Duck. They're all fucking nuts.
He's not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong indeed.
True.
Of course it's true. It's all you get from this show is truth. That's why we have the "That's True" button. It was the cue to push it again.
That's true.
There you go.
Yes, that's true.
One day he will catch on. He will. One day he'll catch on to my psychic cues.
No, I won't. One day we'll have a team of people who will be going, push the button.
Yeah.
And they'll do the button.
They'll do the button. What you say will be a Russell Brand, if you will. Jesus Christ, that man's got a lot of people behind the cameras on his podcast, doesn't he?
I'd rather be a Stephen Crowder than a Russell Brand.
You know what? I think that we have the potential to be far better than Brand. I mean, I think we are far better than Brand at what we do.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that's a bit tooting our own horns. I know that, right? But I think what we do is fun. I think what we do is funny. And also, unlike Brand, who claims to be this big lover of freedom and stuff, he is basically telling you what to think. We're not doing that.
Yeah, we don't tell you what to think. I mean, we tell you what we think, and sometimes we tell you in no uncertain terms. But I'd like to think we tell you in a more entertaining way, and certainly in a less screechy voice.
I mean, my voice is pretty screechy.
Your voice can be screechy, but Brand, by God, is such an annoying twat.
Look, how you doing, John? It's me, Russell. How you doing?
It's just like, I don't believe he actually speaks like that. I think he's better spoken than that.
You think he's a character?
Yeah, I think so, because did he not go to a posh school?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a character. He's at it.
So let's move on to our next slide, because you know what? Who this is referring to? I have been using the term "this is a Milgram experiment" for the last 2.5, 3 years. I've been trying to tell people that this is a Milgram experiment, and that the last 2.5, 3 years have indeed been a Milgram experiment. So we have a picture here, and a quote: psychologist Stanley Milgram. And
I thought it was a good thing to bring up at this time of the year, just to refresh people's memories.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely
right. Please carry on. Sorry.
So psychologist Stanley Milgram found that 80% of the population do not have the psychological or moral resources to defy an authority's order, no matter how illegitimate that order is. Therefore, only 20% have critical thinking capacity. This explains quite a lot. And whilst this is, let's look at one of his most famous experiments. And this is the one that I've come back to again and again and again when trying to tell people what was going on over the last 2.5 years. It's the fake doctor epitome, isn't it? Yeah. You would get a man in a white suit come into the room, say he was a doctor, and tell the people that they needed to electrocute someone on the other side of the wall. And they would... it was about 80% of them, because the doctor was telling them to do so, would turn the dial up to certain death.
Yeah.
And I've always said that you just replace the man in the room with Chris Whitty at his podium or Anthony Fauci at his podium, and you're getting the same thing.
Yeah, and I think this is right. I think if you look at it, the 80%, 20% kind of plays out in things that you see people adopting or not, you know.
Yeah.
And the other thing, it explains why when you approach people in authority, such as doctors, nurses, doctors, receptionists, people who think police, you know, council workers, people who think they are laying down the law to you, and you push back because you realise that they've overstepped the mark, or they're asking you or telling you to do something that they have no power to do so. And when you push back on that and tell them no because you don't have the power or whatever to do that, they are genuinely shocked and completely unable to process it. They don't know what to do because 80% of the people that they deal with comply with no pushback at all. And I would venture to say that probably another 10% off the 20% that have critical thinking, maybe even 15%, will cave for a quiet life.
Yeah. No,
they'll know it's wrong, but they'll still cave for a quiet life.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You're not wrong. I'm just gonna put out a quick tweet inviting people over, and John.
Ben.
So you got let's talk about our Christmas for a minute, because you know I don't understand this holiday. Like, we go through it and we go through the motions, and the reason I don't understand this holiday, and I'm going to wish people a happy time and say I hope you're having a great time and stuff like that, but I don't have anything behind it. Like, I'm not a Christian, I'm not religious, and I look at it and it's just every year on year, it just becomes a commercial nightmare. And
it's always been a commercial nightmare, mate.
Yeah, it is. It has, but it's getting worse and worse and worse. And it almost looks to me like, and then you look on social media and you see it's just people competing at who can spend the most money and buy the best stuff. And
but that's not just Christmas. If you think about it and you think back over the year and looking at social media in particular, that's all people do on social media. They compete. It's always like, look at me, look at me, look at me. And to a degree, we do that as well. We do, look at us, because we want to share our opinions with you. Not because we think we're the bee's knees and we're above it all, but because we genuinely want to, we enjoy doing what we're doing, and we genuinely like to give out information and help people think.
Yeah.
We don't tell you what to think. All we do is give you the information and let you make up your own mind. But we really enjoy doing it, and if we can make money doing it, that's great, right? But when you look at the rest of social media, where people aren't trying to make money, they're just on social media because they want to go, look at me, look at me, look at me. I need vindication. I need validation. I need people to like me. I'm on here for shits and giggles. I need likes. Now, the difference is we need likes because we're working towards an aim, right? Because we need likes and subs and stuff because we want to monetize this, because we enjoy doing what we're doing, and we'd like to get some added income from it.
Yeah.
Which would help. I'm not saying it would be the all and end all, but it would help. And
simply help improve the quality of the show. Maybe give us the ability to employ somebody to produce it, buy a better studio.
Yeah. But at the moment, we get donations from you guys, and we really appreciate that, because that's all that we get just now. We don't get any advertising apart from an odd penny or two from Twitch.
No, yeah, and do you know that the donations that we get, let's say they cover our live streaming on Rumble every month, they cover a little bit towards our electric, and they may cover our Twitter blue ticks when I'm allowed to get one, right? Because I'm not allowed to get one until at least the 9th of January, so I will be getting one at that point. But it basically covers that, and then it's gone. So if we can get a bit of ad revenue to help keep the lights on, especially when my, collective bill between the house and the studio is over £400 a month, it would really be handy.
Robin's on the ball.
Yeah, Robin is
on. A dwarf, yes. Yeah, we'll get, as soon as we've got enough money, we'll get a dwarf. It's in there. It's in the planning. It's in the budget planning. Dwarf. 1 for the use of.
Hi, Shalini. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. But you are desperate, aren't you? You are desperate to get a dwarf.
I think a dwarf can make or break it.
And do you want to know?
It's like all the big people have a dwarf. Mr. Beast is a dwarf. Logan Paul is a dwarf.
Mr. Beast
Well,
does
Mr.
not
Beast
have
got a
dwarf.
very short guy.
What, you mean Carl?
Yeah, yes, he's borderline dwarf.
I think Carl's story actually is much more impressive than Jimmy's story.
Yeah.
Carl got to where he is by design. He started off as an editor, and then what he would do is, because he knew what the best shots to edit were, when he was invited to be in 1 or 2 videos because they needed an extra guy, he put himself in the position to be in the best shots he knew would be edited in, so that he could become a regular on the videos. I thought it was genius. He gamed the system, baby, as an editor. Yeah. And you know, you got to give credit where credit's due to people like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And speaking of Mr. Beast, we can move on to our next slide, which is Jimmy himself, who wants to be Twitter CEO.
Or does he? We did cover this on Friday.
Yeah.
In my drunken stupor. But the first order of business, where creators actually make it where creators actually want to post videos on Twitter and not just link to other platforms.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more either, as Elon Musk says, because, you know, now that I've got my Twitter account back, there's 10,000 people immediately accessible to our content if I put it live on there. So why wouldn't we want to post video over there? Why wouldn't we want to make that our video sharing platform? Why wouldn't we want to try and monetize that space? And I'm not talking about you guys donating through there. I'm talking about potential ad revenue, which is what they are looking at by the looks of it. Why wouldn't we want to do that? So, I totally agree as well, because, you know, whilst Twitter is not our model anymore, it used to heavily be my model until I was banned 11 months ago. I was banned 11 months ago for no reason, because, and I can now ultimately confirm fully that it was no reason, by the way, because when I got my Twitter account back, and I can show you this email, it says, you must delete the offending content before you're allowed full access, right? But there was no offending content. It just allowed me full access. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, because it wasn't banned for any particular reason.
Nope. I was banned for nothing.
It's the same as mine. Apparently I've been banned for targeted abuse.
Yeah, but at least they pointed out the tweet, which they called targeted abuse, right? There was nothing for me.
See, originally I don't think it was targeted abuse. Originally I think it was promoting violence.
And then they changed their minds.
So they seem to have changed their mind, which is a bit strange.
But like I said, there was nothing for me to do because there was no offending tweet. They never showed me an offending tweet when I was banned. And when I've got it back, there's nothing to delete because nothing was done. So
exactly.
Very interesting, isn't it?
It is. And then speaking of offending tweets, I find the next one a bit curious because I think this is probably an example of where when I say we, I mean people that are trying to report things, don't do ourselves any favours without any kind of verification. How can someone who has the reach of Kim.com put that up and say, thanks for sharing these documents, more to come, without validation or verification? Where's the corroboration that this is a proper and legal document?
See, I completely agree with you, but the balance of probability in my mind says we've heard so much about gain of function and what has happened versus what they're lying about that it's probably true. But at the same time, you're right. Where is the validation? Because we can't report this as true. We can't.
No, we can't. The thing that gets me is that if you read the papers and go through it, though, it's basically trying to say that they did this gain of function in order to make a vaccine for something that they had
Didn't
to
exist.
gain the function. So this really doesn't make sense.
But do you know what?
You know?
Just because it doesn't make sense doesn't mean they didn't do it. Because a lot of what
Absolutely.
a lot of what scientists do does not make any sense, right?
Mhm.
Because science in itself is not infallible. It is fully fallible, I would say. And in fact, I would say it was intended to be fallible. Because the idea of science, as far as I was concerned, up until about 2 years ago, was that you questioned absolutely everything. You debunked absolutely any theory so that you could come to the most logical conclusion.
Well, yeah, I think one of the problems about science is that if you really think about science critically and look at it properly, you can never prove a theory true. So science, by definition, can never, ever be settled.
Of course it can't.
See when that clown Obama uttered those words, that enraged me. And I'm a quite easygoing, type of guy, as you know.
Yeah.
That enraged me when he said that. Because that, at that point, removed any argument he had and just put it in the bin. Because it just made him an absolute clown of a man. And regardless if he'd done good or bad over his previous tenure, it made him a clown of a man to say that in the world stage, that the science was settled.
There's
because
no such thing as settled science.
any person who has anything to do with science knows that science is never settled.
No.
I mean, it's like, you think about it, we cheat to settle science. Even Einstein questions most of the work that he did on his deathbed.
Well, you've got to question it.
Including the cosmological constant and whatever. And people are still humming and hawing around that. Redshift and all that. People are questioning that all the time. Do you know that the meter was originally a unit of measure that was, a rod of some kind of titanium or something like that, right? And they could actually measure it physically. But the meter is now defined by the amount of time or by the amount of distance that a photon of light travels in a certain amount of time, right? Now, if you define a meter like that, you can no longer question the speed of light because you can't measure it anymore because the actual meter is dependent on the speed of light, and the speed of light tells you what the meter is. So there you go. That's not settled science. That's cheating science.
But
anyway, that was my science bit.
But
shut up already. It's science.
I will just listen to the voice. I will shut up already because it's science. And speaking of science and the way science changes, we move to New Zealand now. I don't know how much I can read out of this because despite the fact it's probably being reported in some kind of mainstream publication, YouTube will probably still be unhappy with it. But breaking news. New Zealand government. New Zealand government.
Probably get away with the. Sorry, you can probably get away with the headline.
Well, the headline is breaking: New Zealand government report admits you may fall ill or even pass away after coof shots, shall we say, but advises people not to worry.
Because it's rare. It's very rare.
Yeah, but
that is rare.
Yeah, but listen, right? I never had a problem, and people can have a go at me for this, right? I never had a problem with, from day one, them coming out and saying side effects could include death, right?
Yeah.
Never had a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is if you know something, and they probably did know, right? But if you know something can cause serious illness or death, my problem is mandating it. Because what you are essentially doing is mandating, no matter how rare it might be, you are mandating serious illness or death. Right?
That's true.
That's true.
And if I turned around, and I did turn around and say this repeatedly, that was what my problem was. And the people that would be contrarian to me would turn around and say, yeah, but if you don't, then people are going to die. But people make that choice. Offer them the full information, the full breadth of information from all angles, and say it could be good for you this way, it could be bad for you this way. Here it is, we've got it, make your choice. That's all that should have ever happened with anything when it comes to a medical intervention. But here we sit, where basically, if you wanted to go to the pub, if you wanted to go to the theatre, if you wanted to get on a plane, if you wanted to fucking live any kind of semblance of a normal life, last Christmas, that was it. You were mandated. And people say, oh, yeah, but if you chose not to have it, you'd just accept the consequences. Why were there fucking consequences? The consequences should have been ones that could have risen from a medical condition and that you accepted or declined the risk of. It should have been your choice. It should have been your body. And it's going back to fucking Lawrence Fox, right? Because I'm going to say something, and once again, people might not agree with me. I don't like the idea of abortion. I don't like it. It's not something that me, my wife, my family would personally engage in unless extremely medically necessary. However, I'm not here to tell you, as if you're a woman watching this, I'm not here to tell you what to do with your body, and I'm not going to judge you, because it's your body, it's your choice. Just because, and that's why I said my position when we were talking about this on Sonia Polton was very nuanced. It has to be nuanced, because as someone who believes in bodily autonomy and someone who believes in total freedom of choice, even if I don't personally like something, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop you doing it. But this is just evil. What happened was evil.
Yeah, and you know what? It makes the next case particularly interesting because we're again talking about coercion.
Yeah.
So, the Olympic gold medalist, what is his name, Sylvester Googly or whatever, has died from the coof, aged 51. He died from the coof, right? After initially refusing to take the jab.
Yep.
The Hungarian gymnast was jabbed shortly before being taken ill, reportedly in order to keep his job as a gymnastics coach, and had not developed enough antibodies. I can't make any further comment on this, but I think you can read that and pretty much come to your own conclusions, people.
And I would say, yeah, exactly right, John. I think people should come to their own conclusion. And I will never be a hardliner on anything like this, right? Especially when it comes to bodily autonomy. I might have my own likes and dislikes and things like that, but this is just egregious. It's egregious that he should have been, regardless of what caused it, what didn't cause it, how it happened, when it happened, it should never have happened, right? And once again, he was making his own choice, and the only reason that he finally copped to making the choice that was desired of him, shall we say, is because he was threatened, right? When you say you're going to lose your job, and that happened here, by the way, that happened in the UK to so many people.
Yeah,
but when they
Nazi's been some of them.
But when they said you're going to lose your job, you don't just lose your job. You could lose your home, the ability to feed your family, the ability to pay payments on a car, you lose everything when you lose that income. And for those people that turned around and said this was perfectly justifiable, you're evil. You are evil. This was never justifiable. Mandating anything like this was never justifiable. And if you can go to sleep at night thinking you were right in thinking it was, I don't want anything to do with you, ever. And it's as simple as that. I know it's Boxing Day, we're supposed to be festive, we're supposed to be merry, but these people are evil. It doesn't matter what day of the year it is.
Yeah, speaking about hardline evil people, right? Now, I'm getting kind of mixed messages here, because on one hand, we're getting that over 250 million people caught COVID in December in China, right? And they want to kind of put the lockdowns back in place and, you know, head for the zero COVID. But on the same hand, we're getting reports now that they're taking restrictions away and they're opening up things.
I mean, you can now fly into Hong Kong, I believe, without any...
But see, this is what I don't understand. So China's now giving us kind of mixed messages. So what are they trying to do? Have they had enough of trying to control people with zero COVID? Because it probably costs quite a lot of money in itself.
Yeah.
And will have it has had it has had an impact on the Chinese economy because it has dropped this year.
I think I know exactly what's happened here, and this is just my opinion. I think
Come
I know
on, Ben. Please enlighten us.
the Great Firewall isn't as powerful as they think it is, right? So
Yeah.
people, I know it's illegal to use a VPN in China, I believe.
Yeah.
But the Great Firewall isn't as powerful as they think it is, and the Chinese people are now starting to clearly see the rest of the world, apart from the United States, but they're clearly starting to see the rest of the world return to normality, right? For the most part, you can go anywhere you want now. You can get on a plane, go anywhere you want as if normal. I can drive on the Eurotunnel and drive away, which I'm doing in a couple of weeks. I'm going for a drive, without having to show any medical information, shall we say. And they started to protest, and they started to protest in a big way. And I think that spark, and it was a spark, I think that spark would have spread, and I think that would have been the undoing of Xi Jinping and the CCP. So
Yeah,
I
think you're right.
I think this is entirely self-preservational. I think that the Xi Jinping and the CCP have realised that if they continue to allow, dissent to fester, then they're done. They're over. There's over 1 billion people in mainland China. It's a numbers game, right? If 1 billion people, even if half of them turn on you, that's 500 million people actively turning on you. You're not going to sow that dissent. You're not going to quell it. So, personally speaking, I think they've gone, we have to return to normal, because if we don't, we're done. So
Yeah, I think you're right.
and also let's just talk quickly about the science, right? The science and what we were told of the science, and we can produce video clips to prove this. We were told that lockdowns, restrictions, things like that were never going to stop the spread. They were only going to delay it. They were only going to move it further ahead.
Slow it down. Yeah.
Squash the sombrero, as they say. But it was never going to stop it. They always said that. And and what's happened here is they've tried and tried and tried and tried and tried, and at some point they have to let it go. They have to.
Well, they've got to, because the problem is all you can do, as New Zealand found out, as Australia found out, is delay the inevitable. It will occur. And just a quick one, addressing the chat there. A wet market isn't a seafood market. A wet market is any market that sells perishable goods in a non-supermarket setting.
Yes.
So even your local farmer's market is effectively a wet market. What makes it particularly wet in China is they usually sell a lot of the animals that are still alive.
Yeah, they're live, aren't they?
Or they will dispatch them, gut them, and prepare them for you at the point of sale, right in front of your very eyes. I know, because I've been there and I've seen it happen.
You have. You are a well-travelled man.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, far more so than I, which is
But
a shame.
it used to be much easier to travel, Ben. Much easier.
Well, yeah, because you had money.
No, it wasn't even that. It was just easier to travel.
Well,
Because people, all you needed was a passport. You didn't need anything else that went along with it, you know?
so let's move on to a tweet from the Voice of Wales. Now let's do full disclosure, because the Voice of Wales is an independent outlet, and also someone who is greatly smeared in mainstream circles.
Yeah, well, the actual information comes from the Daily Skeptic. Okay.
And another outlet that's greatly smeared.
Yeah, but there's
I'm not saying they're wrong, by the way.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing, because you won't get information like this currently shown on mainstream media. Now, this is strange, because the mainstream media have gone through this process with the coup, right?
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't show any negative stuff, but now they're starting to question it. Now they're starting to bring things up.
Yeah.
But as far as climate change goes, they're still very much on, this is the straight and narrow. This is how it is. This is how it happens. This is what we are told. This is what we believe. But when you get and this was another thing that Obama fucking actually just made up on the spot.
He does that.
And out of his head, the 97%. That was just made up. So 97% of scientists have never agreed.
No.
It's nothing to do with that. The whole thing was based on a report that is going to take too long for me to explain, but I'm more than happy to do so at some point. But anyway, this is a new paper that's come out, and 12. Well, the paper has been claiming that what paper was it? The
Drawn from a so there is it's a paper led by the Norwegian Physics Nobel Prize laureate Professor Ivar Glavar.
Yeah.
It says climate science has degenerated into a discussion based on belief, not on science. Well, I can tell you that.
That's exactly the point, because what have we been saying for my bloody hell? Well, sorry, the rain's putting me off. What have we been saying for the last 2 years? It's a religion. It's not a science.
Well, exactly right. And I mean, let's look at the preacher. She's right there, Greta Thunberg. Right, she is the grand preacher at the pulpit who preaches all of this. She goes on the TV shows. She's been recently on the Russell Howard Hour, right, and stuff like that. She's with Jeremy Vine in that weird photo of her sitting on his knee. But the thing is, she's not a scientist. She hasn't even finished school. She doesn't know what she's talking about. These are just facts, people. Right, Greta Thunberg is not a scientist. Greta Thunberg has been told things, and then she goes and repeats them. It's like many people, and this is the vast majority of people, I might add, read something on Facebook or read something on Twitter, and they go, "Oh my God, did you know this? I've got friends that do it all the time," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" You know? But this is what Greta is. She's not a scientist. She's not an expert. She's a kid who skipped school because she had a dogmatic belief. That's what she is.
And I think that belief may have been instilled in her by her parents, who were probably acting more as handlers at that point.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. And obviously she has handlers. She's always had handlers. And she's going to find pretty soon, you know, this is no offence to her. This is just the pure reality of the situation. She's now over 18. She's an adult. She doesn't command the innocence of youth, shall we say, anymore. And they're going to find the next one. They're just going to find the next one.
Yeah.
She will be tossed aside because she is not. She's not going to have the impact that she had before. She's not a kid. She's not skipping school. She's not going, "My education and future is being absolutely destroyed because of your love of economics" anymore. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's a bloody kid. And all of these world leaders that schmoozed up to her, "Oh, Greta," you know, they're using her. They're using her.
Indeed. Speaking of facts, inconvenient facts, if we look at the white bits on the next diagram, the white bits are what we term ice.
Ice, baby.
That is a top-down view of the Arctic Ocean. Mm-hmm. No land under that ice. That's all floating on the water. Okay? Now, according to our good friend Al Gore, we should have been able to sail across there by now. But it appears that the ice this year is now higher than the median between 1981 to the year 2010.
Do you know what?
What, Ben?
No matter how many times these so-called climate scientists get their predictions wrong, and we did a whole episode on predictions that hadn't come true, right?
Yes, we did, yeah.
And I've tweeted a list of over 50 at people like Leonardo DiCaprio who preach this shit, other scientists who preach this shit, and said, "Please explain why each one of these has been wrong." They never answer the question because they don't have an answer, because we go back to what we were just saying. It is dogmatic belief, and it's dogmatic belief that is ultimately never come to surpass the way they predicted it. What I think the term of insanity means is to keep doing the same thing over and over again until, you know, you get a different result. This is what they keep doing.
Well, it's to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different
Well, yeah,
result.
expect a different result. This is what these people keep doing. They keep making wildly inaccurate and incorrect predictions, and they've done it for the last 5 decades plus. By the way, it is never right. It is never wrong. Peak oil, the ice caps are going to melt. This, that, and the other. It never happens the way they predict
Ice
it.
age cometh.
Yep. And yet
Ice age cometh.
Yet we still not only believe them, but base our entire lifestyle, policy, and everything upon them? What are we doing?
Yeah.
This is insanity. It is insanity. Now, is the climate changing? Yes. Yes, it is.
Always does.
Always does.
Normally we call it weather in the short term.
Yeah. It always does. And, I mean, I've seen New York Governor Hochul recently going, look at all this snow, it's climate change. But I thought what you meant...
I've been in New York, right?
Yep.
And had 4 seasons in one day.
I don't doubt it, by the way.
I've had sun, rain, snow,
Yeah.
and what else would you call it? I don't know, something else. But yeah, with everything in one day in New York. New York's like a microclimate. It's a mental place.
It is.
And I mean, for you think about it, New York's at the same latitude as Rome,
Okay.
right? But New York's much, much colder in the winter than Rome is.
So,
Much, much colder.
before we move on, I've got to find my vape. That's just knocked it down. However, before we do move on, just for transparency's sake, we are not stopping this show at an hour sharp. It will go on as long as it goes on. It's the Boxing Day special. We decided to come and work and give you a decent, good, long show rather than take the day off like most people. We thought we would do that for you because we are lovely and brilliant. And if you would,
Because we are.
and if you would like to thank us for our efforts, you could do so with a donation or a monthly subscription at patreon.com/chasing descent, or indeed Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/chasing descent. Or you can still sponsor my balls because they're still on the tree and they'll still be there until the end of the year at paypal.me/wheeliebricks. Now, if you do decide to chuck a donation or a subscription through Ko-fi, you can put a little message through it. Yes, I did, Harold, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. But if you do want to do it through Ko-fi, you can put a little message from it, and you can see the little green bar below me right now. Your message will explode during the show up in writing, and a little computer voice will read it out. So, yeah. So I did a sing-along show the other night, and Harold gave me a really, really generous donation. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you. And that's gone towards euros, Harold. Because I am going for a drive, and if you are subscribed to the other channel, 100 Acre Swamp, I've decided to make a going for a drive series over on that, where I'm going to document everything I do. So if you'd like to join me and come along with me when I go for a drive, go and subscribe over there, 100 Acre Swamp. Anyway, let's move on to a tweet here from Toby Young, shall we?
Yes, indeed. Well, it's not so much the Toby Young tweet, it's the Daily Mail. Okay, so the Daily Mail have published a story claiming the world could face a mass extinction of plants and animals with less than 80 years. Doom, 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 and more doom, right? But then, a bunch of experts turn around and go, no, that's not the case. So again, we have the mainstream media just throwing all this doom and fear and everything because it sells, these days it sells links, doesn't it? It's always good to. It sells links, clicks and giggles.
Of course. Well, that's what all mainstream media does these days, right?
And this has been a bit of a climate change episode because even the next slide's still talking about Mr. Climate Change from the UN Secretary, no less, right? And I think you've only got to read the first line and then just think, what the actual?
It's dogmatic belief, John. They're basing policy, global policy, that will impoverish us all on dogmatic belief that simply isn't true. It is a cult. It is a cult.
Yeah,
and
it's a religion.
Unfortunately,
a cult, yeah.
Unfortunately, that cult is in a position of power, and that's what should be terrifying. That's what should be terrifying to you. All of these things that have happened to you, especially, I would say increasingly, not just with the coup and stuff, but increasingly over the last 3 years, the authoritarianism that's bounding down upon you has been pretty much derived from this cult. This one
Yep.
cult, this dogmatic belief. And are their intentions nefarious? I leave that up to you, right? Are they doing this on purpose? Do they really believe the things that they say? I'll leave it up to you. But I'm personally not so sure.
No, I'm not so sure either. So, just in case you hadn't been able to read it, the UN Secretary General falsely claims that weather disasters have increased 500% in the last 50 years.
Yeah, and it is a false claim.
That is a false claim.
It is provably false. Now let's move on to a tweet from GB News.
Speaking of falsities, right, what's going on here, okay? Because if we look at this, Putin says Russia ready to negotiate over Ukraine. But Kiev, brackets Zelensky, says Moscow doesn't want talks.
Do you want my personal opinion?
I think I know what it is, but please
I'm getting the guitar out.
do tell.
I'm getting
All
the
right,
guitar
okay.
out. I'm going to put it through the sound system. I think maybe it might sound a bit crap, but still. My name is Vladimir, and I like money. I like your money. Give me your money. I'll just keep lying for your money.
Now that's quite opportune, because the next slide is, this one's again fraught with danger for the uninitiated who like to talk about things, right? You won't watch the sing along show because it was a one-off.
It was a one-off, and you
gone.
can't watch it back. No, he's going to watch he donated during the sing along show. He was there supporting it. He's going to watch the I Will Go for a Drive show.
Oh right, yeah. Sorry. I'm not keeping up. Right. So speaking of lying, right now, there's a bit of a problem here. On how we approach this, perhaps, but you know how our friend Volodymyr Zelensky is looking for arms and money everywhere he can.
Yep.
And he still reckons that Israel should send them the Iron Dome.
Yep.
Because that would protect them from the bad man
Putin!
Right? So one of the problems is that it's well known enthusiasm that certain Ukraine soldiers conducted certain activities during World War II.
Yep.
Now, Vladimir, who is of Jewish descent,
Yep.
should know this,
Yes, he should.
but no one appears to be prepared to recognise that Ukraine had any effect or had any impact or did anything at all untoward during that last World War.
Let me just refresh your memories, right? Let me take you back to a recent Reuters article. It's about 6 months ago, and it's a Reuters article that I pointed out to John and I sent you, and it's 100% true. We confirmed its accuracy. It was a real picture in a real Reuters article that simply said, "Ukrainian citizen searching through the wreckage." Right? What did he have in massive size emblazoned on his bicep jump?
Oh, he had a large religious symbol that had been, well, let's just say he had a large religious symbol that had been appropriated by a certain group during World War II, reversed and used as their national emblem.
He had it. He had it that way round as well, didn't he, John?
Yeah, well, he had it the same way round as the
Germans.
As the Germans did. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was just supposed to be. That was supposed to be
just a regular citizen.
Yeah, just a regular citizen indeed.
There is and there has been a record of anti-Jewish activity in Ukraine over the last, 50 odd years since the World War.
We can't point that out.
Oh, sorry, can we not?
No, we can't. But these things are true. These things are 100% true, but they are not convenient. Now,
Yes, they're not convenient.
are we saying it's all Ukrainians? No. We're just pointing out the fact that there is a large, still to this day, at least a notable minority, shall we say, of people who share sentiments with certain bad people from World War II.
Yeah, there is.
I mean, we've seen official ceremonies recently in Ukraine, not obviously in the last 2 years, but recently, where they have the symbol emblazoned. They got it all over the stairs in a mall. They've got it, they've had big ceremonies.
I know, in a mall, a shopping mall. That's showing you how normal it is there, You can't. Imagine if you went and put that up in a shopping mall here. What would happen?
You'd be in a jail. You'd get the jail.
Yeah, imagine if you went and put that up in a shopping mall in Germany.
Well, then
You'd be in the jail.
Well, actually, you may not get the jail here, but you would definitely get on a list.
Yeah, you would be. But imagine if you did it in Germany or Austria.
Yeah.
You would be in the jail.
Oh, yeah, you would be in a jail. But here, you'd definitely be on a watch list. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet, there it's just normality. It's just part of life, isn't it?
But, there's so much evidence to this, right? There's so much evidence. I mean, let's look at Oliver Stone's bloody documentary, Ukraine on Fire, which is brilliant, by the way. Brilliant documentary.
Yeah. Well, let's just go back to 2016 and look at the BBC documentary.
Yes.
On it. Where it's endemic in Ukraine. Endemic.
But what I don't get is why now we have to deny it, right? If they, why deny it?
See, this is the problem. This is where Zelensky's painted himself in a corner here, because there's a large Jewish contingent who would want to help them.
Yes.
Right? If he would just accept that they have to say sorry for what they did.
Yeah,
but they won't do that because they won't accept that they did what they did.
No, and the thing is, rewriting history never works.
It doesn't.
It especially doesn't work in the short term when there's so much bloody evidence of that recent history. It doesn't work. Yeah. And
let's face it. World War II is not history. It's still modern studies, isn't it?
Well, I would say so, but I'm not even talking that far back. I'm talking the things in the mall and things like that. You kind of.
Well, yeah.
They
2016.
But they kind of don't want to admit it even happened. Admit it happened. Admit it was wrong. Apologise if you must, and move on. Right?
Yeah.
You say this.
And they do. Yes, they do take people to lampposts.
Yeah, they still do it.
Usually Romanies, thieves and gypsies.
Do you know what?
Just don't like those people.
I'm not going to lie to you. Somebody stole from me. I'd probably take them to a lamppost if I got my hands on them.
No, not literally, Ben. Not literally. You would not do that.
No, not literally.
No, not literally.
I'd like to, but not literally. I wouldn't literally do it.
Yeah, okay. We cannot possibly condone taping people to lampposts. That's not something that you should do.
No, and especially not based on ethnic origin. Who the hell's doing that? Why are they doing that? Unless they just simply are racist, right?
Well, that's the question. Why would you think about taping anyone to a lamppost in the first place? What goes through your mind? I mean, that's like I don't know. How far back would you have to go before you think that would be appropriate behaviour? I mean, I can't think why anyone would think taping somebody to a lamppost in the modern age would be appropriate behaviour.
It's the kind of thing you do when you're out pissed with your mates, isn't it?
Yeah, on a stag night.
Yeah.
But other than that, I can't understand where you would want to do it.
I mean, I have been in the presence of people that cling filmed someone to a lamppost. Once again, during a stag night.
A stag night, yeah.
And they did let him out straight away.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah. But still, why would you do it for some kind of punishment for simply being of a racial or ethnic origin?
Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that. That's not humane behaviour.
I agree. I do agree. Let's move on.
Moving on, and this is just an example of how hard these sanctions are hitting Russia.
Yeah. Look at
Right?
that.
So this is Russian import of semiconductors because obviously with the sanctions being put in place, we can see that the imports just fell through the floor.
For a minute.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, now they're like, whoa, hold on a minute. They're importing more than they ever did.
Yeah, from China.
I mean, it only took them, 3 weeks, is that months? 3 months to get back above where they were. So obviously they're making up the shortfall now. So you probably, if you average that out, there's been no net loss.
No, absolutely not. And once again, China have obviously stepped in a big way. They're good friends, and people need to be very careful of this relationship because the Russian and Chinese militaries don't fuck about. They don't.
No, they don't.
And they are. We've seen the adverts. We've done the advert comparison of I didn't know if I could be gay in the army versus Call of Duty.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I know.
Nobody cares if you're gay in a fucking army. Are you going to turn up? Are you going to do the job? You're going to protect the country. That's all that matters, right? Nobody cares. Nobody cares what religion you are. In fact, if you are stopping an entire squadron on patrol to pray, so that you can get down on a mat and pray,
people might care.
People might die.
Yeah.
People might die in an active war situation. That's a fact, right? But the Chinese military, the Russian military, they do not fuck about. They do not stop. They are a well-oiled machine.
And this is the part where people don't quite understand that this actually isn't a war in Ukraine yet.
No.
It is a special military operation because Russia has not gone to war here. Because if they went to war, Ukraine would be flat by now.
Yeah. No, do you know what? I have to agree with you. Because, once again, their military is large, it's abundant, and they do not fuck about. And you should be scared of them. I'm scared of them. Let's be honest with you. If they came to invade Britain, let's be honest, I don't think we have the capability to hold them back.
Well, Germany doesn't, does it?
Germany does. Yeah, but by the sound of things, Germany doesn't have the capability to hold back 6 farmers with rifles at this point.
Germany's done. So, in case you missed it, people, Germany posted a German MP posted the other day that Germany, on a best case scenario, had about enough equipment and soldiers to wage a week-long war, and that would be it.
Absolutely.
And he actually then went on to clarify that it was actually more like 2 days worth.
It's not good, is it? Not good.
No, it's not good at all.
And what they're admitting there is they don't have the capability to protect their citizens.
No, they don't, because they gave everything to Ukraine.
So if you've given away the capability to protect your citizens, which should be the only aim of government, by the way, right?
Yeah.
If you've literally given away the ability to protect your citizens and then admitted it, maybe you are not tenable as a government. I'm just saying. Maybe that major coup that's just been foiled over in Germany was justified. I don't know. I'm not saying it was. I'm simply asking the question.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Vince Clements, who says, I have been warning for years that the medical mafia would attack the supplements market. Here's phase 1.
Now, this is quite disturbing. Because this is the FDA, so this is America, right? Federal Drugs Administration. They could gain more power to ban dietary supplements.
Why?
Under proposal. Because they want to be able to have complete control. And if they ban vitamin D in quantity, what does that mean for you and me and the likes of everyone who lives above, say, the latitude of, you know what?
We need some vitamin D. Look at
Syria.
the state of us. Look at the state of us.
Look at us. We're positively translucent.
Yeah. Look at the fucking state of me. Right now I actually look quite nice and colourful.
And this is a serious and factual warning for those that have colour in their skin. Because if you live in these latitudes, right, you will almost certainly be more than deficient in vitamin D. You will be in deficit because you will not be making vitamin D even in June, especially in Scotland or Sweden or somewhere like that. So, you people out there that have colour in your skin, if you don't want to die, you better get some vitamin D supplementation in there.
Let me just boil this down. Let me just take this to an even simpler argument, right? And my simpler argument is this. They're taking away more choice from you. That's all they're doing.
That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to take away any possible method of you looking after yourself and have to rely on nanny state to do the hard lifting for you. So you then become completely dependent on the state for absolutely everything and cannot think of questioning nanny state.
No, because then you're a drone. You
are in effect a worker drone.
You're a worker drone, and then 1984, which was supposed to be fiction, becomes reality.
It's true.
You'll get your 2 minutes of hate probably to let out your emotions because we are emotional creatures. But at the end of the day, they are coming for your individuality. They are coming for your sense of freedom. They are coming for your sense of wanting more, your sense for wanting to elevate yourself and improve yourself. They'll just want you in your place, doing your job, whatever that job may be, shutting up, doing as you're told, or they'll shut off your access to money. They'll shut off your access to food. They'll shut off your access to medication because they are taking control bit by bit. And the fact that they accelerated, I would say, over the last 2.5 years was a Milgram experiment to see how many people would go along with it, to see how many people would comply, to see how many people would resist. And then when that resistance did occur, and it occurred in large numbers, to be fair, they squashed it. And the way they squashed that resistance was by simply ignoring its existence, not allowing any note of it to go out on mainstream media. And then when people like me and people like John would show you what was going on, they got the social media companies to ban us.
Yep.
It's a well-oiled machine, and it's way further along, in my opinion, than you think it is.
Yeah, it's working well. It's working well, people. If you don't get your news from alternative sources already, then you really need to start. If this is your first time watching us, then you really need to keep watching us because we're not going to spin you any yarns. We're not going to give you any crap. We just tell you how it is. We let you make up your mind.
Yeah. You don't have to believe us. You don't have to agree with us. You don't have to. You can say those guys are idiots. Those guys' opinions aren't worth a damn. That's absolutely fine. We're just giving you our opinions. We're telling you what we think of this news, and if you, we want you to go away and think for yourself, right? We don't want you to look at what the BBC's feeding down your throat, you're shoving it down there, and say, yeah, that's absolutely true, because for the vast majority of it, it's probably not absolutely true. There may be some semblance of truth in what they say, but they spin it. There is a bias. Do we have a bias? Absolutely. That's why we give you our opinion. However, you do not have to agree with our bias. Let's move on to Keir Starmer.
Yeah, so this kind of is off the back of Scotland's gender reassignment bill that passed the other day. So you had that, where you can now reassign your gender based on the fact that you just lived as the other gender. Although it's a bit strange, isn't it? Because apparently there's more than one gender, but there's only two genders when it comes to reassigning gender. But anyway, so if you want to reassign yourself to be a man or a woman, all you need to do is live as the opposite gender for 3 months, and that's it. You don't need anything else.
Do you know what?
That's Scotland for you.
But once again, I sit with a very nuanced position on this because I'm a big believer and lover of freedom, right?
Right. But before we go into that in great depth, Keith here jumps on the back of that, right?
Of course he does. Look what
and
he
says pro-trans laws are needed across the UK. Why?
And what is a pro-trans law?
Yeah, well, but why? There's already legislation in place to stop people abusing people. There's plenty of legislation in place to allow people to go about their daily business without causing harm or annoyance to other people.
Do you know what? There are
why
certain things.
Why do you need more laws?
And do you know what? There are certain things where trans people get arguably special treatment. And I will say this: when, for example, if going to work in a job with children, yeah, if you are trans, the background check does not occur.
No, you can't do that, surely. How?
Because it's
That can't be true.
I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but there are laws to protect from the dead naming, from the looking into the person on their previous name if they're trans.
Not under a disclosure, surely.
I'm telling you now that there's been an
Well,
uproar about it.
Right, I'm going to need to dig into that, because if that's the case, that's a massive
Red flag.
massive loophole. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happens.
I think you got to put a pin on that and put it in the book,
Right.
because we're going to have a look at that one.
Should we revisit it tomorrow?
Yeah, let's do that. Or even make a separate video on it if it is the case.
But I'm pretty sure it is the case. I could be
Right,
wrong,
okay.
and if I am wrong, I'm happy to admit that. But I'm pretty sure, from what I'm seeing, that is the case. But still, if you want to live as the opposite gender and live your life that way, it's nothing to do with me. It's nothing to do with me how you want to live. However, the point where I stop and the point where I turn around and say, okay, you've got me involved now, is when you threaten me. When you say, you must think this way, look this way, talk this way, or else there will be consequences. Right? We see people going through it right now. I'm going to mention a woman called Caroline Farrow, who was arrested in front of her children recently for not wanting to agree with trans ideology. That's wrong. That is wrong.
That is wrong.
Right? If we are to believe in freedom of choice and freedom of pretty much anything, then we must allow people the freedom to live as they please, as long as they aren't doing me any harm. But at the point where their actions could cause harm to somebody else, and by harm I mean getting arrested, they're wrong. They're wrong. They should not be taking those actions. I'm all for you. If your name is Steve and you want to become, Jane tomorrow, you go right ahead. You do that, right? It's nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't involve me. Don't threaten me. Don't tell me that I can't say what I want.
But at the same time, right? And going back and looking at a wealth of information that's readily available that shows you that in the region of 95 and upwards % of people who undergo gender reassignment surgery
Become suicidal.
They've gone beyond just living as they've actually done the gender reassignment surgery, but up to 95% of them regret their actions.
No, but like I said, become suicidal.
Yeah, they regret their actions. They wish they'd never done it, and there's no going back. That's the problem. There's no going back. Even if you just take like puberty blocking drugs and things, there's no going back, because you'll never get to where you should have been as a normal biological person, right?
If you feel
I just use the term normal there in the scientific aspect, as in one would normally grow and
develop,
affected by hormones as you develop. Yeah. So that's the problem. What I see the big problem is it makes it too easy for people to jump on a whim, right? And when people start acting on whims, they make stupid decisions that they then regret, further down the line, whether it be 1 month, 1 year, 10 years. But people need to understand the implications of things they're doing, and they need to be properly coached and told what's going to happen if they go down a particular route. This isn't just being able to put on a dress.
No,
that's not what it's about. The whole thing is really deeply disturbing, and I think from a mental point of view, you've got to give these people as much assistance and care as you can, because you cannot just do these things on a whim.
So I always go back when we're talking about this. I always go back to that woman who got the psychiatrist to help her blind herself because she thought she was trans disabled.
Yeah. That's just crazy.
Well, it's insulting. It's insulting to actually blind people.
But it's also criminal, surely.
Yeah, I would say that
psychiatrist did.
I would say that the psychiatrist should not be allowed to practice, should lose the license immediately, because
it should be in jail.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, because they ultimately blinded someone. They aided and assisted in somebody being irrevocably harmed. And let's once again go back to what you were saying. I will say that if an adult is fully informed, knows that the full consequences of their actions, and decides to make that decision, go ahead, right? Go ahead, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm not saying not to. I'm just saying don't do things on a whim and don't do them on short term without consultations.
But my point, which I'm getting to, is that increasingly we are seeing this ideology foisted upon children, right? And we can talk. I can talk about a young woman on Twitter. Her name is Chloe Cole, who had a mastectomy at, I believe, 15, double mastectomy, had all of the hormones and regretted it, as you say, and now will never be the full woman that she was again. She was a child. She didn't understand the implications. She didn't understand what the permanent nature of what was going on. And she was obviously confused. And what that young girl needed was psychiatric help. What that young girl needed was, exploring where these feelings came from. Not only that, this young girl needed to wait until she was an adult before she made any kind of decision like that. She shouldn't have been allowed to make that decision. We don't let kids smoke. We don't let kids drink. We don't let kids consent to things that they can't cognitively agree. We don't let them vote, for God's sake, but we're going to let them make the decision to mutilate their bodies.
It's crazy.
It is.
I mean, when I was 4 or 5, I had a great love of Tom and Jerry, the cartoon.
Did you want to be Jerry?
I wanted to be a mouse. I wanted to be Jerry. I demanded that my parents call me Jerry. I painted the end of my nose black. I used to run about on all fours. Now, thankfully, my parents took this as a child having fun and an overactive imagination.
Didn't try and get a tail surgically attached to you.
Yeah. They didn't cart me off to the doctors, stitch on huge, massive ears, fucking implant whiskers, give me a tail and feed me only on cheese. Can you imagine if I'd actually become a mouse, where I would be today?
These conversations would be far more interesting, I'd say that.
Squeak, squeak.
But no, yeah, your point is absolutely right. If an adult wishes to make a decision and do that, right, that's their decision, and they fully informed of the consequences, the implications, and the like. But a child can't understand it. A child cannot, and then we see people like, and I'll go back to Chloe Cole on Twitter, who severely regret their actions and kind of want justice for the medical professionals that pushed them in that direction, right? And the parents as well. The parents shouldn't be taking their kids to go and get medical procedures. They shouldn't. They should be saying, you're a child, you're clearly unhappy, there's something not right, let's go and explore that. Or, you can't make this kind of decision because you don't understand it, because you're not an adult. And I mean, I think the voting age should be at least 25, maybe even 27, because young people to this day, in this day and age, do not understand the reality of the world around them. They've never been told no. They have collective tantrums, and I don't think that they have the cognitive ability to understand what they are voting for. So I personally think the age of voting should be raised up. I think this day and age we should consider them children until they're 25, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Let's move on to Jack Posobiec, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Jack Posobiec tweets, "Scoop! National Guard informs troops last paycheck before Christmas will be late as Biden admin sends billions to Ukraine."
It says it all, doesn't it?
I don't think we need to say anything else.
It just says it all.
I don't think we need to say anything else. I really don't.
Yeah, there you go.
So let's move on to 0HP Lovecraft. Says, in the Gulag Archipelago, Solzhenitsyn describes how during an 11-minute standing ovation for one of Stalin's speeches in the Soviet Union, First person to stop clapping was arrested and imprisoned for 10 years.
Right, so that relates to the tweet underneath, which said, some right-wing members repeatedly remaining seated in standing ovations during the Zelensky speech.
Oh, God, they're making a list.
Yeah, Matt Gantz, Lauren Boebert, Andrew Clyde, Diane Harshberger, Warren Davidson, Michael Cloud, and Jim Jordan. Now, those people should be in prison, should they not? Imagine having the temerity, the damn temerity to remain seated while a standing ovation was given to the great god, the great dwarf god, Zelensky himself.
I've spent a lot of this episode with my head in my hand.
I know, fucking hell. What can you say?
I will say you should not be making a fucking list. That's for sure.
He's ticking it. He's making a list. He's ticking it twice.
It's gonna find out who's been naughty or nice.
Naughty or nice.
Gulag clause is coming to town.
To town.
Yeah, I was speaking with a fellow YouTube creator on Twitter. Someone I used to talk to a lot. He's got a channel called We Got a Problem. His name is Bert, right? And he was also banned from Twitter. And he I think accurately described what happened to us as the Twitter gulag. And I think he's absolutely right. They memory hold us, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Of course they did.
Just disappeared our presence from the platform.
Yep.
It's
and some of us are still in the gulag.
You are, yeah. You're still in the. I'm not in the gulag anymore, John.
No, one of your accounts isn't.
Yeah, I think you were pretty upset when I got my account back.
Well, yeah.
Well,
not for you. I was glad for you, but why haven't the other accounts been returned?
You can follow me on Twitter at DisabledJourno. Do you know what I think is happening? They are manually reinstating them, and it's taking for fucking ever.
Yeah, I think the appeals process is mainly automated.
I don't think the appeals process matters.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters in any of this because, as you know, the day before I got my account back, they rejected the appeal.
I know.
So they rejected the appeal and then they returned it. They did say they were starting on accounts with more than 10,000 followers. Now, when Disabled...
well, I'm below you.
Yeah, well, when Disabled Journo got banned, it had like 12.6, and now it's come back with 10.6, which means 2,000 accounts have gone missing. They haven't unfollowed. They've gone missing. So maybe them 2,000 accounts also got slammed in the Twitter gulag. And then you start to see how many people were actually banned. And if they are doing it, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to them at this point because I have received my account back. And I know that might be a personal bias, but I didn't think it was going to happen considering my appeals have been repeatedly rejected during this time. And then all of us...
Maybe it's maybe that's why he's ignoring all these tweets about the amnesty, because maybe the amnesty's ongoing and he's going, look, but why doesn't he just say, look, it's ongoing, it's an ongoing process? It's
an ongoing process, and it's very I don't know, there was no reason given for them giving my account back, and like I said, the appeals were rejected. So I can only assume that the amnesty is happening, but it's ongoing, and we will see the return of the other accounts. Slow rollout as
due course.
Well, yeah, slow rollout as DW says in the chat, but I think it's being done manually. I think it's manual, and that's taking time.
Who's I don't know how to pronounce M3
UEC.
I don't. You may not know this, and you may not understand or believe it, but I don't like whiskey.
Neither
Scottish
do I.
or otherwise.
Neither do I. Well,
so
actually, tell a lie. Jack Daniel's honey is pretty nice.
Okay. Yeah, but that's not really whiskey.
Maybe
it's
not.
Bourbon, isn't it?
It's nice though.
Anyway, so I don't really like whiskey.
He's a Scottish man that doesn't like whiskey. If you haven't already, please leave a like on the show and click the share button. Clicking the share button is actually very important for the algorithm, so we would really appreciate you doing that. And so is the likes during the live show. It helps boost our little show here. Let's move on to a tweet from George Papadopoulos. It says, breaking Pelosi's January 6 text messages revealed.
So Nancy said that she was not in control of the Capitol Police and had no say over what they did or did not do.
Was Nancy lying?
Yes, Nancy was lying because her history shows that the chief of the Capitol Police deferred almost every decision to her. Almost every decision he makes he deferred to her.
Wait. Pelosi lying? Really?
I know. It's hard to believe.
Do Pelosi's lie?
Maybe. Maybe's aye, maybe's no.
I mean, do Pelosi's have sex? Like, I mean, what? Let's move on quickly, shall we, to James Melville?
Yeah, James Melville.
Brits are being.
I'm actually showing a James Melville tweet.
Are you agreeing with James Melville?
Oh yeah, I'm kind of agreeing with him. Right?
Did he copy us this time?
No, this isn't a copy.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Mirror's put this out. Brits are being urged to avoid seeing elderly relatives if they have a cough or the flu, as NHS chiefs fear this could be their darkest Christmas to date. Right, now, there's a couple of things to unpack in that statement. Now, that's not what James is saying, but a couple of things to unpack. One, yes, they are being urged to do this. I've seen it from multiple sources, including the government and the NHS themselves. So yes, you're being asked to avoid seeing your elderly relatives. Why? Right? But apart from that, how many times has the NHS said this could be our worst year ever?
They say it every year, John.
Yeah, they say it every year, right?
But
also,
I have a
Mr.
question.
Melville says Christmas is a time for visiting loved ones. The elderly should decide what they want to do. And
correct.
He's right.
Correct. You know, all the NHS are doing, and not just the NHS, but the government, is treating elderly people like they don't have any kind of agency. They're saying that these are our property and you should not visit them if you have a cough or a flu.
Yep.
And do you know what? As advice, that's probably pretty sound advice, right? If you've got a cough or a flu, especially in the winter time, and you've got elderly relatives, you know, if you can avoid spreading that to them, then that's probably good. However, when it becomes more of a demand, shut the fuck up, first of all. And second of all, let me give you my personal experience of this Christmas season. My grandmother, she's 77 years old, right? She's had a cough/cold for a month. She's got one. Now, should she have not come and visited us? Because she did. Should we have not been around her, even though she's already got a cough and a flu? I mean, I've had a little bit of a sniffly nose the last few days, as you'll probably know. The kids have had one hell of a cough and stuff like that, but she knew the situation and she chose to come anyway. And she was already all full up with cough and cold.
You know what? See, before 2020, no one, and I mean no one, would have given this a second thought.
Well, no, and most people don't need to be told, right? They don't need to be told. If you are ill, you should probably, if you are ill with something that could be contagious, you kind of made the decision yourself, especially if it really knocked you for six. You didn't go anywhere. The amount of people...
Yeah.
I mean, it's just common fucking sense.
It is, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
I've had the flu like twice in my life, and I tell you, it knocked me both times. The last thing I was doing was getting in my car and driving somewhere to be fucking festive. I was lying on the couch drinking coffee.
Yeah, I think I've had the real flu once.
Yeah, I've had it twice.
I had a temperature that was in the 100 and something. I was hallucinating.
Hallucinating was fun.
Yeah, I didn't get out of bed for 3 days. And I certainly didn't go anywhere for that week, you know?
Yeah.
That to me was the flu. So if you are wandering about the supermarket with a sniffle going, oh, I've got the flu, No, you fucking haven't.
I tell you, you're absolutely right, and I just felt so ill. And like I say,
Yeah.
the last thing I was doing was going shopping. You know, even the lights affected me when I had flu. So the last thing I'm going to want to do.
Bed.
Well,
I
no.
literally couldn't get out of bed. I mean, getting to the toilet was a major struggle.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But
And thankfully, because I think I was staying with my parents because I was about 21 and I just joined the police. And I think I was still staying with my parents at the time because I hadn't moved out. And I think at that point, the only thing that stopped me dying was probably the fact that my mum would come and give me a drink occasionally.
do you know what? When I had the last time I had the flu, my grandmother turned up at my house knowing full well I had the flu. She had a washing up bucket, and in that washing up bucket was every type of medication and cold and flu medication you could think of. And she turned up and she essentially drugged me, right?
Yeah, get that down, you son.
And she sat there with me for a day and a half, knowing full well I had the flu. But she made that fucking choice because she could have handed that stuff off to my wife, right, and said, "Look after you." Yeah. She came in. She wanted to do the Mother Teresa thing herself. That was her choice. She could have caught the flu. She knew full well she could have caught the flu. We're treating elderly people like they have no fucking agency, and it needs to stop.
You're right. It does. It does need to stop. Now, moving on to New York. And the new police chief, who is a woman, has been tweeting this all over the place, saying that Christmas is safe because the NYPD have arrested the Grinch. Now,
that poor officer who was put in that costume.
Yeah. That's basically it.
Why?
That's pretty sad because it's just I don't know.
John.
I don't know.
John.
Ben.
I'm going to stop you. Yeah. And the reason I'm going to stop you is because I've just queued up and prepared the next slide.
That's what's found at an auction.
I'm not putting it up for them to see yet.
Okay.
Because I want to know why.
Why what, Ben?
Why am I looking at this?
Well, so this was at an auction, right?
I'm gonna show him. Ready?
Okay. So this was in an auction, and I thought this is quite interesting. Now, it wasn't so much as it's not so much as what they were used for. It's what they claimed to cure forever, right? Because they claimed to cure forever a couple of things.
Okay.
One is piles, right?
Well, it'd certainly pop them.
It would. I'm not sure what it would do, but anyway. So one of them was it would cure your piles permanently. Okay. It would cure asthma.
What?
Yeah. I mean, these are not our claims. These
Stretch
are
your butthole, learn to breathe.
This is Dr. Young's rectal dilator's claims, right? But the one that really got me was it was a cure for nervousness. Looking at them, that would not cure my nervousness.
I mean, looking at them, the anxiety would certainly go through the roof.
You'd be like, whoa, no. No.
Do you know what
that's not for me.
Do you know what I find amusing? The fact that there's obviously, you start with the thin one, then you work your way up to the medium one, and then that's it. You're going there. You're going there.
Big boy.
Big boy. Oh, Jesus Christ. This is what this show has become. And that. That.
Well, I think maybe after the overindulgence of the last few days, it's probably a good time to whip out your collection of Dr. Young's rectal dilators and give yourself a jolly good seeing to.
Do you know what, John?
Ben.
Christmas is over.
Christmas is over, mate.
And looking at the fact that some of the shops are only open for the next 25 minutes and I've got to go shopping.
The supermarkets up here are all open till 6.
Bank them.
Why do you want to go to the supermarket on a Boxing Day?
Bargains.
Okay. Right. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for attending this episode 179 of Chasing Descent Live with
Boxing
me,
Day
John,
Bonanza.
and Ben. It's been good. In fact, it's not. It's been great. For
you.
Christmas, all the Christmas trees on fire. Santa's holding the lighter. My parents are both liars. I got gifts, but 1 subscribers. Thanks for the candy basket. Oh God, another jacket. My stocking's filled with acid. Am I dreaming? What just happened? This